In August 2025, Sudan's military leadership took one of its boldest steps yet to reshape the country's devastating civil war. The ruling council under General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan signed a $1.5 billion defense contract with Pakistan, marking the most ambitious arms purchase in Sudan's modern history. The move, struck during a senior delegation's visit to Islamabad, reflects Khartoum's decision to pursue military supremacy rather than compromise, and may profoundly alter both the war's trajectory and the broader regional balance. The agreement was finalized after talks between Sudan's Air Force commander, Lieutenant General Pilot Al-Tahir Mohammed Al-Awad Al-Amin, and Pakistan's defense leadership, including the Air Force chief and defense industry officials. For Pakistan, it represents a major breakthrough in exporting its growing defense sector. For Sudan, it offers an unprecedented opportunity to leapfrog years of stagnation in weapons procurement, despite sanctions and international isolation. At its core, the $1.5 billion package encompasses advanced aerial platforms, armored vehicles, and state-of-the-art air defense technology. Deliveries are expected to begin before the end of 2025, a timeline designed to quickly inject new firepower into Sudan's grinding battle with the Rapid Support Forces, RSF. The inventory of the contract highlights Khartoum's focus on mobility, precision, and airspace dominance. Trainer fighter jets, 10K, 8 Karakoram aircraft, designed jointly by China and Pakistan, capable of operating as both advanced trainers and light strike jets. They are especially useful in counterinsurgency campaigns where agility and close support matter more than heavy payloads. Combat and reconnaissance drones, 20 Shahpar, 2 UAVs for combat missions, 150 YHA-3 tactical drones for battlefield reconnaissance, and 50 MR-10K surveillance drones. This layered fleet ensures Sudan can conduct both persistent surveillance and precision strikes. Long-range strike UAVs, 50 Ababil 5 drones, among the most formidable in Pakistan's arsenal, capable of deep penetration strikes with significant payloads. These provide a strategic strike option against RSF command hubs and supply lines. Armored vehicles, 150 Mohafiz security vehicles to improve troop protection and maneuverability during urban combat and desert operations. Air defense, Chinese-supplied HQ-9 and HQ-6 missile batteries, long regarded as the backbone of Beijing's air defense network, giving Sudan modern capabilities to intercept aircraft and hostile drones. Sustainment, replacement engines for Sudan's aging fleet of MiG-21 fighters, extending their operational life even as the country transitions toward more modern systems. The package reflects a clear doctrine: modernize Sudan's military around drones and missiles while providing ground forces with better protection and maneuverability. The ongoing confrontation between the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, and the RSF has been marked by stalemate. SAF forces control key bases and retain international recognition, but the RSF dominates portions of Khartoum and crucial trade routes, using mobility and entrenched positions to offset SAF's numerical advantage. The new acquisitions are designed to break that balance. Persistent surveillance drones can expose RSF supply chains and troop concentrations. Armed UAVs like the Shahpar 2 enable precision strikes that were previously impossible for the SAF. The Ababil 5's extended range creates an entirely new layer of operational reach, allowing the SAF to hit targets far beyond immediate front lines. Equally significant is the air defense component. For the first time, Sudan's military can secure its skies with credible missile systems, reducing vulnerability to RSF drones and potential foreign interference. By denying adversaries freedom of maneuver in the air, the SAF hopes to regain control over key urban and logistical zones. Sudan's ability to fund such a vast purchase raises inevitable questions. With its economy shattered by war and sanctions, Khartoum lacks access to global credit markets. Analysts suggest that financing almost certainly flowed through third-party backers, likely Gulf states or Turkish intermediaries. This arrangement serves two purposes. First, it provides Sudan's generals with desperately needed funding. Second, it shields both Khartoum and Islamabad from political scrutiny. By routing the money through outside actors, the deal avoids direct exposure that could trigger international backlash. For Pakistan, the agreement highlights its emergence as an exporter of high-tech weaponry while maintaining deniability about fueling Sudan's civil conflict. General al-Burhan's decision to prioritize such acquisitions reflects both domestic desperation and regional signaling. Inside Sudan, the SAF is locked in a war of attrition against a rival force deeply entrenched in the capital. Advanced drones and armored mobility are seen as essential for dislodging RSF fighters from fortified positions. Externally, Sudan's leaders are under intense pressure from neighboring powers. Egypt views the SAF as a natural ally, Ethiopia watches closely due to tensions over the Nile, and Gulf monarchies see the outcome of Sudan's war as central to Red Sea security. By aligning with Pakistan and indirectly with China, Khartoum sends a message: it will not be dependent on Western support or mediation. The timing underscores Sudan's choice to double down on warfare rather than diplomacy. Efforts by the African Union and the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, to mediate a settlement have collapsed. Humanitarian conditions continue to deteriorate, with millions displaced and famine looming. Yet instead of pursuing compromise, Sudan's leadership is betting on overwhelming firepower to deliver victory. This gamble may succeed militarily in the short term, but it risks entrenching the conflict further. RSF forces are unlikely to surrender simply because the SAF has new equipment. Instead, both sides may dig in, escalating violence and prolonging civilian suffering. The consequences extend well beyond Sudan. The country is now poised to host one of Africa's most technologically advanced internal wars, with drones, missile shields, and precision strike systems at its core. For the region, that raises the risk of spillover instability, refugee flows, and cross-border tensions. For the international community, the arms deal highlights the limits of Western sanctions. Sudan's ability to secure advanced weapons through Asian and Middle Eastern partners underscores the erosion of Western leverage in African conflicts. It also illustrates a shifting global order in which sanctioned states can bypass restrictions by turning eastward for military support. Sudan's $1.5 billion defense pact with Pakistan is more than an arms deal, it is a defining moment in the nation's civil war. By acquiring a suite of drones, missile defenses, and armored vehicles, General al-Burhan's junta is betting everything on military dominance as the path to survival. For Pakistan, it is a commercial and strategic win, boosting its defense exports and reinforcing ties with an embattled partner. For Sudan, it is a gamble that could either restore the SAF's dominance or plunge the country into even deeper chaos. What is clear is that Sudan's war is about to enter a new and far deadlier phase. With foreign-supplied weapons reshaping the conflict, the dream of a political solution appears further away than ever.